Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the November episode of Uncensored and In Charge with Erin Childs. I appreciate everyone tuning in today, and we will dive straight into what we're going to talk about. For the last 6 months, as I've been thinking about it, we have covered all different kinds of topics on this monthly coaching call, right? We've talked about sales and how without them, you have nothing, and how important they are, and what you need to do to go and get them, and how it's about relationships and building off of those. We have talked about fall catering readiness. And have you prepared yourself as you are coming off summer to get ready for this fall? We are in the thick of the fall season, headed into holiday season, and things are really going to kick it up a notch. So we've talked about that. We've talked about leadership and what leadership should look like. And we've questioned our own leadership and asked ourselves the right questions, the difficult questions, I hope. We've talked about teams and what it takes to make a good team and how much effort we should be putting into our teams and how our teams are everything. We've talked about these wonderful, really important topics that create a good business. And today we're going to talk about one of the most important threads in the fabric of your business. And that's about coaching and how everybody needs a coach and how this type of support transforms people, it transforms teams, and it really transforms your culture. And when I took a look back at everything that we've discussed, and it's fitting that as we enter November here, almost towards the end of this year, this is a really big one for me because I want everybody to reflect on what we've learned over the last many months that we've been doing this. And as we start to quiet into the season of besides insanity and the holidays, but as we start a new year, I'm going to close out into December with a recap of what our year end looks like. So before I jump to December, though, I'm going to go into our November topic. And as I said, that is how everybody needs a coach. And I want to start by having an open question to the world who's listening out there. And the first question to ask yourself is, who is coaching you? The second question I want you to think about is, who are you coaching? Now, some of you might say, well, I don't have a coach. And some of you don't, but some of you might have coaches. And if you don't have a coach, that's fine. I suggest you tune into all of the coaching that you've been receiving from all of us on Cater Linked, because it's a good resource for you. But in all seriousness, I want you to also ask yourself, who are you coaching? Because each one of you leaders should be coaching somebody under your umbrella, under your arm, and giving the most amount of support that you possibly can. You want to always make sure that you have somebody in your corner who's rooting for you. And I want you to really take a look at that over these next 2 months as we close out this year, and ask yourself and ask your team, do you have somebody in your corner that's rooting for you right now? Okay? Because if you do, you know how powerful and how good and positive that feels. And if you don't, you know how heavy things can feel, especially at the end of a year, especially when you're trying to finish out a year, hopefully strong, hopefully up, building sales, having all of this good stuff happen. But if you don't have a somebody in your corner, you know that the stress level is high, and it can feel very lonely there too. Now, I hope that's not how any of you are feeling, but if it is, here's something that we all need to know. The human truth is that people will never outgrow the need for support. Okay? And what do I mean by that? So some people don't necessarily understand what being a coach or coaching, receiving coaching means, right? We think that coaching ends once you kind of get the job that you were trying to prepare yourself for. And that's not true. It's actually when you need it the most. And I learned this myself, having my own coach when I was a leader of a company, and just how incredible it was for me. And I needed it and the type of support that it gave me more than I ever realized. And it wasn't until I'd received enough coaching did it click and I really understood it, right? Coaching for anybody allows for you to have a very safe place for that person to lean in, to ask questions that they might not have an audience to ask questions for. This goes specific to leadership, especially at the C level. Oftentimes, they are the ones bearing all of the weight of the company on their shoulders. They need an outlet to help bounce ideas off of, have interesting conversations, be asked tough questions. These are very, very important moments for leaders during a coaching time. Okay. So I just want people to think about that a little bit. In my time, when I was able to ask difficult questions, I was able to really kind of take a look to see and check my gauge of how I was actually doing as a leader. Right. And of course, leaders have a tendency to be harder on themselves sometimes than they need to be. But I was very, very, stressed when I would try and be figuring things out and not feel like I was asking the right questions. And an outside source for me was able to give me that additional support. I had an amazing team. I had all those good things, but sometimes it takes us taking a step outside of our four walls for us to really understand what that looks like. And that's why our coaches at the executive level and any level, actually, because I'll talk later on about how we should all be coached, but how much it gave me. I think coaching in the human aspect of things allows for you to have different lenses that you look for and look through. And I think that it allows for you to be more empathetic as a leader. And it really helped me develop better thought leadership, if that makes sense to everybody. Now, back to my talking on the human truth of no one will ever outgrow support that they need. New hires, anybody hiring for their company, new hires need direction so much. Veteran employees need recognition so much. And managers need the safe space to think and bounce ideas off of you. So I just want everybody to understand our entire organizations need the type of support that we should be offering to them. And I just think that it's something that nobody will ever outgrow, if that makes sense. Okay. Everybody performs better when somebody believes in them. That will never change, no matter what you try and convince yourself. If you've got somebody standing here cheering you on, you're going to feel really confident and good about yourself. If you've finished a presentation and you walk out and your boss turns to you and says, "Erin, you crushed that. I love the energy you brought to the room." That's going to make you feel good. Your job as a leader is to go make somebody feel good. Okay. So that's the human truth about people will never outgrow the support that they need. Now, what does support feel like? Bringing this emotional experience of feeling supported into your organization is a very difficult skill, and one that you should take to heart and figure out how to master if you haven't done it already, right? We talked about earlier, just a minute ago, about feeling like somebody's in your corner. I want you to pause and ask yourself truthfully, do I have somebody in my corner? I recently had a coaching episode with somebody, and they were looking for this support. They were looking for that validation of what they were doing, and they weren't getting the validation from the people that they wanted it from. And that was obvious. That was obvious to me. That was obvious to them. And it was something that they didn't want to admit. However, in our conversation, it became go and find the support that you're looking for. So if you don't have somebody in your corner, is there somebody at your organization that you can find and help them work into your corner? Because feeling that support is extremely validating. Not feeling alone when things are kind of going sideways is a very important moment for you as a leader. It sucks being at the top and feeling alone. So we want to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with people that are you can step to and say, "Okay, drowning, not doing well today. I need support. I need help," right? Your success will matter to somebody. You just have to figure out who that matters, who that person is that it matters to. Okay. Now, it should always matter to you, and you should be doing this for yourself. But the realistic piece here is that we are in a family, in a work environment where your success does matter to people that you're working with and for. Okay. So I want to say that because I think that it's um, important. I think that trying things and not being afraid of them and saying, okay, that didn't work. We're going to regroup here is a skill that we should try and take into 2026 because most people won't try anything because they're afraid. And I think that being a really supported leader, you're okay to fail and you feel, oh God, okay, this isn't going to go well and it didn't work. I now know what I learned from this and I can reapply it a little bit differently. And you do that and you're more successful the next time, right? We've heard it from probably the time we were small, try and try again. Well, these are those moments where having an emotional experience and feeling supported from your organization or from a coach or from somebody that's in your corner is extremely valuable. Okay. So, I want you, for those who are listening, to take a quick moment and reflect, whether it's in notes or, after this call, whatever, about a time when somebody believed in you where that you were able to feel that feeling. And I hope that you've all had somebody believe in you. But I want to share this story of somebody that believed in me and what it did for me as a leader and as actually in my whole life. I mean, because we all have that one moment where you're like, oh, this was really powerful and this meant a lot. And I think that it's important for you to write down the moment, if you haven't already, that somebody believed in you. And I think from time to time, whether it's a journal or whether it's somewhere private where you can reflect on it and you can pull it into your leadership, I think that it's extremely valuable. Now, I'm going to share my personal story of a moment where I had a coworker and I weren't getting along. Okay. And this person and I just couldn't get it together. They were nice. I'm nice. It just was like oil and vinegar, oil and water, oil and vinegar, oil and water, right? And so we both wanted to be very successful at our jobs and we both wanted our business to succeed. But for some reason, we couldn't get us to succeed together. And so my coach that I had helped me see through all of the BS that I was, I don't know, stirring up through their BS that they were probably stirring up and have us look at each other through a different lens and find compassion, find forgiveness, even though this person didn't do anything to me, but find that within ourselves so that we could really work together and try and figure out that we were both there for the same purpose. And that was the success that we were trying to accomplish. And I will tell you that there was a lot of work and a lot of discussions involved, both individually and together. And it turned out that in the end, I really respected this person. I grew really to appreciate this person and understand their thought process. And they believed in what we were doing. And that person turned and said, I knew that you could do the hard work to get to this level of where you are. And I did, and I started looking at this person really differently, and I really became thankful for that person, and I really became thankful for my coach who didn't give up on, knowing that I needed to create this relationship with this individual, and believing deeply that if we got to the right place, that we would be very successful, and we did. And she never gave up, and I really appreciated it. And even to this day, I'm not sure I ever told her how much it meant to me, that we were able to overcome the differences and get to where we needed to go. But the reason why I say this story is because you want to be able to share those moments with people who have made a difference, who showed you that their belief in you allowed for you to become the best version of yourself in a moment of stress, differences, just, we can't necessarily always pick our coworkers, right? So it just really mattered most. And I think that it was when I was working on this whole piece, I really wanted to have all of you take a moment and reflect on a time when somebody believed in you. Write it down, share it, think about it today, and somehow apply some of the good that that person gave you, and put it into today's work, because I know that you will feel really good about yourself. And I know that when I was reflecting on this moment of this story, this was a really difficult decision for me when I was going through this stress, and to overcome it and to trust and believe that somebody was believing in me to become better. It was very empowering. So that is my little share. I want you guys to reflect yourselves on somebody that's made a big difference, right? So, I am also all about results, as most of us should all know, and all be about results, right? Performance matters, because performance gives you really, it gives you good sales, it gives you good connections with your team, it gives you good leadership skills, right? Performance is important. Um, Now, support that you receive from when you're trying to gain your optimal performance, whether that's sales goals, whether that's big events that you're crushing, that you've been organizing for and you're putting on without any glitches, anything that you're performing for, okay? The support that you have behind you is going to allow for you to have a trust in what you're doing, ownership in what you're doing. And all of that consistency is going to give you top performers, but it's going to allow for your team to want to show up for you, and feel supported, feel respected. And what does that do? Okay, well, you have higher morale if you feel respected by your boss. That's like statistically proven, right? Um, your team will perform better if they feel that they have their leadership behind them, right? They might be faster to solve problems if at this event that you're planning and you're catering, or your special event, whatever it is, they might be faster to think, oh, what would Erin do? Or, oh, I remember Erin had once talked about this, right? Your team listens and hopefully hears what you're saying when you're giving them thoughtful feedback through their performance, and this is going to support all of their driven results that they're going after, right? So they're going to create higher quality food. I made a joke about somebody that's really happy, and if you were asked to make a sandwich and you're in a really good mood, you're having a great day, and somebody isn't having a good day, and you ask them to make the exact same sandwich. I told this person in my group the other day that I was giving this example to, the person who's happy and rah rah is their sandwich is going to taste better than the person that was mad. And they all started laughing and saying, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "It's true. If you put two of us side by side, and I'm happy and I'm making my sandwich and I stack the meats just right and the lettuce and the spreads and it all looks so good. And I put it on a nice plate and it looks so pretty and I slide it over. And then there's, Jack over here to my right and he's just putting the meats down and the lettuce and he slides that plate over. Which sandwich are you going to want to eat?" Right? And so that was my point on the positivity of performance in your teams and having good service. It all kind of goes together and blends together. And I just, I don't know, it allows for somebody to be proud and have ownership in what they're doing. And a good leader should be promoting that as much as they possibly can through coaching, through support, and all of those things. Okay. Now, this is a myth that everybody should break. And it started occurring to me a few months ago where I work with a lot of C-level executives or senior management. But in all of our conversations, I always say it all comes from the top down, which is totally accurate and totally true. This is the myth that we all need to break. Coaching isn't just for senior leadership or managers. We have to throw this into 2026 strongly and say, your prep cooks need coaching. The sandwich makers who are angry or not angry need coaching. Your drivers who are driving your delivery vans need coaching. Managers definitely need coaching. And all of you, hopefully, who are listening, believe and need coaching and are getting coaching. Support is not about and should not be about the rank that you are at your company. And this is what I've learned as I've worked with people this past year specifically. Support is about caring for each person at your company. And this falls deep on my head. I really, everybody deserves this opportunity to have support, coaching, love, all of it. And support does come from the top down, but if it becomes part of culture, which is another big topic I've talked about in the last 6 months, if I don't mention it on every single Uncensored and In Charge, it's about culture. So is bringing in coaching and support for all levels of your team so that they feel supported, so that Erin's sandwiches are always pretty and she's always in a good mood because she feels supported and she feels like somebody's in her corner cheering for her. That's really, really important. Okay. And here's another thing that I'm going to dive into of what coaching should actually look like for those of you who don't have the means to hire outside coaching support. Let me give you some examples of what coaching actually looks like. Simple moments that you can do. Micro coaching. Okay. 20-second encouragements. I walk into the kitchen, everybody's making sandwiches or salads, and I walk up and I say, "Look how awesome. You guys make me want to eat the entire platter myself." Or, "You guys have packaged this beautifully. Wow, the presentation, you nailed it. Thanks, guys. This is really good," right? You want to spotlight them. You want to call Erin out and say, "Erin, you did such a good job today." You want to pause everybody in the kitchen for 2 seconds and say, "Everybody, let's give a hands up for," and cheer them on. You've just crushed, say, $100,000 in catering sales for the day. You want to, as the last order is being wheeled out the door, you want to pause everybody and you want to get a clap going and you want to say, "We just did this." These are micro moments of coaching of what a good coach actually looks like. Okay? You want to go up to team members and ask, what would make your job easier today? And if they were like, well, actually, if you could get out of my way and go help make salads, that would be amazing, right? You'll get those types of responses. But genuinely ask them, even if it's at the end of the day, even if it's not in the middle of the craziness, what would make your job easier today? And go be the leader that does that. Follow through. Ask questions. Get to know your team on a way more personable basis. If you've got somebody going on a trip or taking their kids to, I don't know, some tropical island for the first time or Disney for the first time, and they're so excited about it, they've saved up and they've planned it so meticulously so that it's such a special trip for everybody. Make sure you ask them how their trip was when they get back. Ask them if they got time away to really shut it down and have a pause. This is what coaching actually looks like. This is what building a coaching culture at your company actually looks like. Okay? Every role matters, and supporting the front line of your business is one of the most valuable things that you will continue to do for yourself and for your team. I've talked about the sandwich person a lot today because that is who is just striking me today. I don't know. But if they feel supported, they're going to make prettier sandwiches. If the driver who feels valued represents the brand in the manner in which you want, he's going to make sure when he's at your clients' offices and buildings and delivering that he's representing the best version of himself because he's proud of where he works, because he's treated well. The prep team that feels cared for is going to prepare with consistency and organization that's next level so that everything can get executed appropriately. Small roles become powerful roles when people feel that they matter. And that is a huge piece that I want you to take with you today. Small roles become powerful when people feel they matter. Now, you all know that I believe wholeheartedly in supporting managers. They all need coaching. Everybody needs coaching. But in today's world that's so crazy, trying to balance everything the way that we do, the managers are often the most exhausted and the least supported, believe it or not, because the managers are probably taking care of the team. This is our hope, right? Now I'm speaking in a very dreamy situation. Hopefully we've got the right team in place. All of these uncensored and in charges, the assumption is that we have the right teams in place, right? But the managers who don't have the right teams in place are busting their asses to make it happen because they care. They're the ones that are exhausted and not getting the support. They juggle the operations, customer issues, staff issues, scheduling, the forgotten chip and guac, right? If you want to believe that you have a positive culture and you want the culture to continue to move up, you have to make sure that your managers are lifted first. Okay? It's an important piece. You want to make sure that your coaches and all of your team members start to understand. And if you don't have this in your businesses this year, may I suggest you start it for 26, please. Building a coaching culture doesn't happen overnight. So set it as a goal for 26 if you don't have it. Okay? Set the tone of your company that you see the person, that you appreciate the person, and that you are there as their leader to help them. Give them honest and true feedback. Okay? Not just corrections and criticizing them. That is extremely important. I'm all about direct feedback, right? If something isn't right, you have to correct it. But it's thoughtfulness. We'll go into thought leadership. Celebrate big celebrations. Remember how I was talking 2 seconds ago about those micro moments where you've crushed catering and you want to walk out into the kitchen and you just want to get everybody fired up? Create that for 26. If that is not part of the culture, start today. Make it part of the culture. You're the leader. Go do it, right? That's what matters. The culture you create has the ability to either be Erin, the really happy sandwich maker who's really proud of how her green leaf lettuce looks and how it's all frizzly pretty, or Jack, the angry sandwich maker that hates his job and is miserable. Okay? Normalize all of this stuff. Normalize people asking for help. Normalize celebrating them. Normalize being hilarious in the kitchen and clapping and making people laugh. Normalize this, guys. This creates a far more supported culture that people want to be a part of. Where if they're having a bad day, they know that Jesus is going to make them laugh. They know that Jackie, her smile is contagious. They know this. Let it be part of your culture. Create it. Support is contagious. Happiness is contagious. Laughter is contagious. Micro moments of coaching can be contagious if you allow for it to be part of your culture. And that is something that you should remember. This is all of these things that I'm talking about are how cultures are built. It's moments that build cultures. It's not like weird, creepy poster boards that say, like, we support each other. It's creating moments. It's creating the environment where people feel happy and people feel safe and people feel like somebody's standing in their corner. I want to, before I flip into some questions, I really, I want every person in your organization to be able to see you as the leader in a very positive light. That you're firm, that you're direct, but you have a big heart with a lot of empathy that's there to make sure that everyone feels supported. And if you're being supported, you have the ability to offer more support. Now, before I go further, I'm going to jump to a few questions. And I see, hold on one second. Let me get this. Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay. So, okay. So here we go. How do you recommend leaders balance accountability and coaching, especially when someone is underperforming but trying? So, communication, number one. I would say communication. If somebody isn't performing to where they need to be, I think it's extremely valuable for you to be checking in and communicating appropriately with your team. And if they're underperforming, take the live examples that you have and apply it to them. Sit down next to them and say, this is what I'm seeing. Are you okay? What am I missing? Okay, there might be something going on that we don't realize where they weren't trained properly or it wasn't communicated the expectation. So let's restart and make sure that the expectation is set, that everybody's on board. And my hope is that the underperformers who are trying, it clicks for them and they're able to understand it a little bit. But usually that will fall back to not being taught right from the beginning. Hi, Jerome. I see you're on here too. Thanks for tuning in. Okay. What's one small daily habit leaders can adopt to make support and coaching a consistent part of their leadership style? Well, I just was talking about walking into kitchens and walking up to individuals on your team who are doing things and compliment them. Commit to yourself, leaders, that I am going to pay out 10 compliments today. I am going to say 10 great things to my team today and start your day with it because it will set the tone. It will set the tone. And if things start going left or right or not, off track, go give somebody a compliment. Go do something nice for somebody on your team. Go help somebody on your team. That is going to allow for you to support and create a consistent standard that becomes part of the culture of your business. We have another question. Okay, so how do we coach someone who doesn't seem open to feedback or who doesn't see coaching as valuable? Well, no one will see coaching as valuable until they are actually coached. That's the first real piece of information for you to think about. Most people won't feel open to it because they're like, well, this is weird. And it is, I think, in the beginning when you don't know. I didn't know how valuable coaching was until I was coached, until I needed the additional support. And then I started to understand it, right? Giving people the opportunity to have coaching is a gift that you can give your team, in my opinion. I think that it definitely pays dividends and it creates an environment and a positive culture. And all of you leaders in your businesses, that's all you should ever want. You should want very successful, happy, thoughtful people working for your company because that is going to help you create a very bountiful sales team, a very fun kitchen for your team to work in. It's going to create all these great things that end up boosting morale, that end up boosting sales, that end up boosting happy customers. And I hope that you see where I'm going with this. There is extreme value in coaching. For people who don't believe in it, it's because they haven't been coached yet. Get them into it and have them reach out to any of us on Cater Linked and we'll break them down. Next question. When building a coaching culture, where should leaders start first? Managers, frontline employees, or themselves? If you have never received coaching as a leader, please start with yourself because you get to start to understand where you have gaps and where you need support. And then you get to start to see where your team needs support. This is one of those moments where you hear on the airlines, put your mask on first before helping others. This is your mask first moment, leaders, and then it can trickle down. The positive support has to come from the top down, but everybody at the company deserves it. So start with yourself, then go to managers, then go to frontline, all the employees, but make sure that everybody is heard. That's a really good question. Okay, the question is, how can we measure if coaching and support are actually improving our culture, performance, or retention? So I'm going to be a little bit biased here, but because your managers are operating better is my first answer on that. because they are being more thoughtful, because they are double checking and holding themselves and their team more accountable. Okay. I did a session one time on habits and your team with leadership. Okay. Best practices. If you do something repeated and stay committed to doing it every single day, aka like going and paying 10 compliments to 10 people today on your team, if you create these little micro moments, it becomes part of the culture, right? Then it becomes people will perform better because they're feeling better. It's all a trickle down effect, if that makes sense. And the retention piece is you are going to retain great people if you put forward good effort and give them wonderful opportunities that they feel that somebody's in their corner, talking about people in their corners. That is what gets good retention. A positive, safe environment where people feel like they've got somebody looking out for them. So that's how I think to answer you. I think that's what coaching really does, but I think it takes time. But I feel like I see Pete Minix on here. I think Pete would probably speak well to whether or not he feels like his culture has improved at his company. I've done work for his company before, and continue to do work for them. But it really does. It sticks. You just have to stay consistent with it. So I hope that answers that question. Okay. There aren't any other questions right now. Oh, okay. There's another one. No, that's it. I think that's it. Um, Pete, I did call you out. Okay. I'm going to quickly go back to um, some closing thoughts that I have, just as we finish up here. And if anyone has any more questions, I'm happy to jump back to them. But I want to close out our November session with um, to prepare you for what December is going to look like a little bit. But I want to exit today with everybody recognizing that everyone at your organization is probably carrying something that you can't see. And I think being aware of this, and when we finish, just reflect on it a little bit more than you might normally, because we're getting into a crazy time of year, and some people more than others might need some check-ins. And I think that it's a really thoughtful leadership um, piece for you to walk out and say, "Are you doing okay?" Or "You seemed off yesterday. Was everything okay?" Or "Are you ready to take your time off because you deserve it?" Or "You know what? You finished everything. Why don't you leave 10 minutes early today and go for a nice walk because it's beautiful out. The sun's out." So I want you to reflect on that, leaders, today. Um, a little support will go a long way. And I want you to enter this event season with that in mind. A little support will go a very long way. Managers are probably really tired, guys. They're probably run down and they're probably doing the best that they can. So having somebody in your corner feels really, really good. And I remind you to check in and make sure that you're in somebody's corner if you're not. Everybody needs a coach. I hope that we take that away from today, and everybody deserves one. Again, you can be that coach. If you've never been coached, well, let's get you coached, and let's get you to a place where you feel confident, where you can handle it on your own. Everybody deserves to have a coaching experience so that they can become a better leader themselves. And I think one of the most important things I want to leave you with is that I would like for all of you to be that person for somebody, and to um, be the leader that you probably should be and you have the ability to be, but switch the switch in your head and elevate yourself and elevate the culture that you are working in and providing, and your entire culture will shift. But it has to come from the very top, and it has to be part of the day-to-day operations and the day-to-day celebrations. But every single day, you guys should be celebrating what you're putting forth into the business. And there are days that are going to be hard and there are days that are going to suck, right? But a person that feels like somebody's in their corner and a person that knows how to give support and receive support is going to perform at the level in which you want them to. So, I'm going to leave you with that today. Your tasks are: go pay 10 compliments to people on your team today. Go cheer for somebody. Go do something good. Go coach somebody on something that they might not know. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful day. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm ending this session a little bit earlier than some of my other ones, but that's all I wanted to say today. So thank you very much for tuning in. And if there aren't any more questions, I appreciate all of your time. And that's it.